I'm Bob Flanders, running for the U.S. Senate against Sheldon Whitehouse.
Okay, and
a
you
Republican candidate.
And you support putting veterans at the schools,
yes,
which is great.
I think we need to beef up school security, and today I issued a press release suggesting that we should get retired veterans and police officers to help man the schools and guard our children and our teachers.
That's awesome. And a couple of questions basically from the public, because they were concerned, because I guess because of the Providence Journal was somebody might quote you or misquote you, whatever, but they were concerned because you said the AR-15s are like weapons of mass destruction. I don't know if that's true or not. But they want to know if you are out to ban AR-15s, yes or no?
No, I'm not out to deprive anyone of their Second Amendment rights. I think there's 8 million to 13 million of these rifles in circulation. Yep. That's not going to really help anything. No. So I think we need to focus on protecting our children and our teachers. You can't go into a courtroom today without having armed guards. You can't go into an office building. You can't go into an airplane. So we need to have security at the schools.
Oh, okay, so you're not out to take nobody's AR-15. Okay. And one last question here. So you are running as a Republican and have a primary. How do you explain to the Republicans donating? I guess they say you donated thousands of dollars to Gina Raimondo for her governor and treasurer over the Republican candidate.
Well, I've given to both sides.
Oh, okay.
I've been bipartisan. I'm going to be a bipartisan legislator. I have to work with people, and so I've always given to both parties. But my law firms hold events for both parties, and I am asked to support them, and I do.
Oh, okay. And that's just, nothing, not attack against you.
No,
it's just
I understand.
Questions. And because the AR-15 thing was very stringent, because, I mean, was that true? You quoted that AR-15s are weapons of mass destruction?
I don't remember saying that, no.
Oh, okay. So you do support the Second Amendment, that's good.
Absolutely.
Do you want to ask a couple questions?
Yeah. All right.
Speak loudly.
Yeah, you say that you're a pragmatic leader, but making $650 an hour, aren't you just another money-hungry opportunist and not a public servant?
No, I'm fortunate enough to have been a former Supreme Court judge, so I can command a good hourly rate, and this is what people are willing to pay for my services. And, I'm a great believer in the free enterprise system. I don't force anybody to pay that much money. I give discounts to public service engagements. That's not what I charged when I went to Central Falls, for example. So, listen, I'm not ashamed of what people were willing to pay me for an hourly fee, and I proudly am a supporter of the free enterprise system.
Awesome.
All right, and just one more question. How do you feel that you can win against Whitehouse if the city of Providence, city of Central Falls, and East Greenwich see you as a political insider?
I'm not sure they do, but I'm going to go after every voter in the state. I want to represent average working families and small businesses, and Providence and Warwick and East Greenwich all have a lot of those folks. I grew up in a family that lived paycheck to paycheck, so I know what it's like to struggle, and I want to represent those people. And I'm not out to have a long political career. I want to give back to the state that's been great to me.
Awesome. Thank you for your time,
thank
sir.
You. Thank you. See you again. Thank you for having me. So today I put out a press release on this business of protecting our kids in the schools. I wanted to encourage, from the federal standpoint, having retired veterans and police secure our children in the schools. I think right now you can't go into a courtroom without armed security guards. You can't go into a building downtown Providence without security being present. You can't go on an airplane without that. But our children are vulnerable, our teachers are vulnerable, because we don't have the protection they need. You know, if you ban AR-15s or assault rifles, there's still 8 to 15 or 14 million of these guns out there. That's not the answer. The answer is we need to secure our children, because right now they're sitting ducks in these gun-free school zones without anybody to protect them. That's crazy, because you're going to get copycat criminals that come out and say, wow, this is the way to be famous, to get my name out there, or to die a hero by some crazy religion or whatever. Baloney. We need protection in our kids. So I think we need to get volunteers from the retired military. They've had training. They know how to handle guns. and they've been in crisis situations, presumably in combat or otherwise. Let's tap into that resource and protect our children. We can't let this go on, but the answer isn't to violate the Second Amendment and start grabbing everybody's guns and all of that. That's protected under federal law. I wrote a decision as a judge. I was the lone dissenter. The majority of our Supreme Court here in Rhode Island ruled that you couldn't possess guns and carry them outside of your home unless you were in the military. I dissented and said that's baloney. Under the right to bear arms in the state constitution, every individual has a right to bear and carry arms, and it's not limited to your home, and it's not limited to serving in the militia. So I'm a strong supporter of the Second Amendment, and but at the same time, we've got to do something about these children and teachers who are sitting ducks for these Looney Tunes that come in and are able to take down 10, 15, 20 some odd people before the police can even get there, or before our sheriffs are cowering on the outside, afraid to go in and handle it. So I think a solution is to get a federal program together that I'm calling the VEST program, Veterans Ensuring School Trust. Get these folks and the police, retired police, into the schools to help us secure against the terrible consequences of having somebody come in there and start shooting everybody up. Obviously, we need to do better on background checks. We need to make sure that we find out about people like the guy who shot up everybody in that church in Texas, who had domestic abuse problems and convictions. That wasn't checked because the federal agencies aren't even communicating with each other. So there's an act called the Fix NICS Act. And this will help to ensure that these computers talk to each other and they can communicate, so that when we have a situation where somebody's abused the right to own guns and committed violent acts, that this is picked up and communicated to other agencies. So there's lots of things we can do without going out and grabbing everybody's guns and violating the Second Amendment. There's no need to do that. It wouldn't work anyway, because of the millions and millions of guns that are out there already that are in the hands of too many people. So what we need to do is secure, unfortunately, our schools. It's terrible to think that we have to have security in schools, but the reality is we do. So I mentioned that at the outset because I know it's on everybody's mind. It's been in the news, and you're going to see in the paper tomorrow a release that I did talking about it. So I wanted to just put that out there and let you know that this has been something that I've given a lot of thought to, and something that I think we can do consistent with the Constitution. So, as you know, I'm challenging Senator Whitehouse. I've been campaigning hard, speaking to a lot of different groups like yourselves. This is a winnable race. Everything that I'm seeing is telling me that people don't think that this guy is doing anything other than pontificating about climate change. He's not representing average Rhode Islanders, working people, people like you and me who've come from backgrounds where we weren't given everything from day one. He's from the privileged gene pool, and unfortunately he's actually said and quoted that he was born and bred to do this job. Well, baloney. No one's born and bred to do anything like that. So we got to go out there, and I think what I'm hearing from people is they're ready for a change. They're ready from somebody who's willing to work on behalf of Rhode Islanders. I'm not out to make a political career for myself. I've done that. I've been a judge. I've been a receiver in Central Falls. I've been a problem solver all my life. I headed the Board of Regents for elementary and secondary education. But I come from a background in a family where we had to scrape to get everything together, and my parents stressed two things: education and hard work. That's what's going to get you ahead. Education and hard work. And I want the same opportunities for people here in Rhode Island that I've been able to have. I consider myself to be a living embodiment of the American dream. I've been able to achieve the things that I want to achieve, and I want to give back to this state. And I don't want to make a big political career out of what I'm doing. I'm doing it for one reason. I'm a Rhode Islander by choice. I was born in New York. I came here 50 years ago as a Brown University freshman, recruited to play sports, and I've been here making a living as a lawyer, as a judge, and doing other public service. I've been elected town councilman, but this state has been good to me, and I want to get back to it. I want to do my best. I want to stop all the nonsense, the partisan warfare, the inability to compromise, to get things done, the finger pointing that we see in Washington. That's got to end. We got to have somebody who has a record of being a problem solver, who can work with both sides, right? You've got to compromise. You've got to bring sides together. You've got to find solutions to these problems: immigration, health care, infrastructure, guns. All of these issues are crying out for people to work together and find common sense solutions. And my mission is to go down there and work with both sides to come up with solutions that will benefit this state and working families and small businesses. So thank you for listening. I solicit your support. I need you to help me get the word out that this is the time when we're going to put term limits on Sheldon Whitehouse by definition.
Amen.
Yeah, 2 terms is enough. He's been there for 10 years. He hasn't done anything. Let's get him out of there. Let's get somebody who can do something.
Well, no, he's done one thing. We got quieter commercials now on TV.
You're right. All right. Any questions, comments?
Just got one quick question. You were mentioning education. As we all see and know what's going on, that educating our children to be afraid of guns. Now, as a U.S. Senator, would you be interested in introducing a program, an education program nationwide to teach children about firearm safety and to teach them about the right history of the Second Amendment?
Absolutely. I think it's important. It's a part of our culture and our history, and you can't have too much safety when it comes to things like that. Yep. So absolutely, they should be instructed about it.
Thank you.
Yes,
I have a question about the FBI, just to go back to your first subject.
Sure.
They misread everything.
Right.
What can a senator do to get these people to pay attention,
Yeah.
talk across each other? I thought after 2001, there was this whole big, let's get together, we're going to share information. Right. What happened?
Well, this is what they call the Fix NICS bill I was talking about, where it's going to put penalties on career government employees and agencies who don't do what they need to do to share the information that they have already in their computers, but one hand doesn't know what the other is doing. So we got to put some teeth into this law where they are going to be penalized personally and as an agency in terms of their funding if they don't do the right thing and share this information. There's no reason why, if somebody has a history of domestic violence and abuse of his wife, for example, as in the Texas case, that this guy should be able to go out and buy a gun when he's got a record of shooting up other people, and it's right in there in the Army's computer, but they don't tell the FBI, and vice versa. So we got to stop this. And you know, truthfully, the same thing is true in healthcare. We got to be able to share healthcare information more. So, you know, if you go to hospital A and then you're admitted or treated by another doctor, there's got to be sharing of that information. So, yeah, we've got to do a lot better job, because we've got the information in many cases, but we're just not sharing it and not letting people know about it.
On your slide here, it says eradicating the scourge of opioid addiction. What do you have planned for that?
Wow, well, that's a great question. My first plan is to repeal and sponsor a bill to repeal the law that Senator Whitehouse sponsored that gutted the Drug Enforcement Agency's powers to deal with these pill mills that are flooding the market with all these. He's taking money from the big pharma on the one hand, in the one pocket. He's then sponsoring legislation that takes away our Drug Enforcement Agency's ability to shut down these pill mills that are. We've got 6 people a week dying here in Rhode Island. 64,000 people died across the country last year with this thing. How many? I mean, it's personally affected my family and life. I know people, and I bet people in this room know people who have either died or have been addicted to these things. It's a terrible problem, and I'm going to sponsor legislation that gets that thing off the books and gets the Drug Enforcement Agency the powers that it needs to shut down these doctors that are overprescribing and these pill mills that are just taking advantage of the lax regulations that are out there. So that would be the first step. We need a public awareness campaign. We need to make sure that our hospitals and first responders have the anti-drugs that they need to give to folks who are about to die because they overdosed. So we need a comprehensive program on that, and I'm so glad you brought that up, because that's a huge thing, and it's big here in Rhode Island, it's big across the country, and the federal government needs to do something about it. And most of all, we need to tell people that Sheldon Whitehouse is one of the lead people that's hurt us in this area, all the while he's conflicted because of taking these donations from Big Pharma. Any other questions? If not, thank you all. It's been great to be with you.
Thank you.